When did you first start writing and performing together?
Well, we met at Bristol University in the late 70s.
Yes, and I think we thought that we would be very serious.
We were going to be serious actors.
Maggie wanted to be Vanessa Redgrave.
Yeah, because I'm tall, you know, so, you know, got most of it, you know, nearly there.
And in our final year, we were cast, probably unwisely.
Unwisely.
In a production of Ibsen's The Lady from the Sea.
Which was a tragedy for Ibsen, because we were in it.
And the audience, you know, it's supposed to be very serious.
It's a very serious play.
Swedish,
yeah,
intense drama. And the
but we were being quite intense Scandinavians. And yeah.
And the audience was on the floor laughing. So yeah, it was a bit of a tragedy.
There was more comedy, I think. We found more comedy in Ibsen than...
Which is there, just people haven't found it before.
Haven't found it. Well, we found a lot of it.
So that's the first time we started doing a sort of comic performance together.
And we got rather excited because we thought, oh, this is rather exciting.
So
to be funny.
We
and
had
to be
another
silly.
situation where we were supposed to be doing live sound effects.
Oh yeah, for another student's play.
And so they were doing like a radio play, and we were at the side of the stage doing, you know, cups and saucers.
And we said, well, we'll just do a cafe atmosphere very quietly. Well, it got completely taken over.
The whole audience was focused on our cafe.
And we're looking at
their play went for nothing, so they were really rather cross. But
yeah, they were. But we had a fantastic time.
And it did make us think that perhaps we could be a double act. And at that time, there was the alternative cabaret movement. So this was a reaction. It was started by Alexei Sayle and Tony Allen, and it was against mother-in-law jokes. It was anti-racist, anti-sexist humour, and there were just no women on that circuit at that time.
Or very few. And the few women were really angry women. They were very angry women. And they were doing really heavy, quite heavy material, and which alienated some of the audience, and other, you know, people felt empowered, you know, women felt empowered by what these women were saying, but hardly any women. And so we came onto the scene and did our cabaret show, which was quite strongly feminist based, but silly, and it became more silly because we felt, in a way, the most political thing you can do is be two women who are funny on stage, and they're not oppressing women and they're not oppressing people with their humour. They're just having a good time. Let's have a good time, please.
But the problem with that time in our lives was that we would be on a bill with lots of other people, all of whom would be men.
Yeah.
And it was the time of the Bradford ranting poets. So these guys who were sort of, I guess, bits sort of what would now be described as spoken word, but much more punk and much more aggressive, very, very aggressive.
Very aggressive.
And then we'd come on with our flopsy bunny humour afterwards, and it was really, really hard to turn the audience's mood.
And you had to get a good laugh pretty early on in order to shift the move. Well, the shifting of the move cost so much energy that ultimately, and also the thing with us is that we kept bringing more props. So we had a sketch called which was a sort of like contemporary music concert.
It was a clarinet and ironing board duet that we played. So I played the clarinet and Maggie ironed her breasts with the iron and screamed. Yeah, but the promoters always got really cross because it was supposed to be stand-up and we got more and more props. Ultimately, we decided that we wanted to have a whole evening of us and we would do more character-based comedy.
Yeah, we were just developing more and more characters and more props. We've always liked props. Yeah, so then we created our own space, you know, and said we are LipService and here's a show.
But we never thought of ourselves as writers. We always thought someone would write us a nice script and we would act it out. And we'd be quite frustrated. I think, oh, we've got to write it ourselves.
Yeah.
And if ever we were at a meeting, an arts council event, and people would say,
you
put your hand
these
up.
Conferences of women
Put your
writers.
hand up if you're writers.
And we go, no,
we're not writers. And then we got nominated for a Writers Guild Award with people like John Osborne and Tom Stoppard. And you thought, oh, perhaps we are. Perhaps we are writers after all.
Really, Hilda? You make it sound so awfully mysterious. It killed somebody once. We'll let the police decide that, shall we? Stephen! Can I have Millgate 413? Good afternoon, is that the desk, Sergeant? I'd like to report a murder.
How would you describe your writing process?
It changes, you know, from how it was and...
But I think we start off with a kind of mood board where we just splurge lots of ideas, and we're very interested in what people think they know about something. So when we were writing our show Withering Looks, for example, we didn't want to write a historically accurate
I don't think we could have done.
depiction of the lives of the Brontes. We were interested in the heritage industry and how it packages.
Because if you go to Haworth, you know, there's loads of souvenir shops and stuff, and it seems like that had taken over the Brontes.
Yeah, so you can get a Heathcliff Knickerbocker Glory, you know.
And go to Jane Hare.
Jane Hare, the hairdressers. You can have a Bronte Balti in Haworth. And we talked to people queuing for the parsonage and said, what do you know about the Bronte sisters? And they'd say, one of them was called Jane Eyre. She wrote Pride and Prejudice. You know, so that's the kind of level of knowledge. So that's what we were interested in, is what people, what's the public perception of something, and we work with that.
You know, and they're absolute avid fans as well, of course, yeah. But it was more the heritage industry. It was the gift shop. It was the fact that you always end up in a gift shop, and what do you buy? So then we created our own little gift shop in Withering Looks. We had our own nibbles trolley, where we had
authentic sounds from the Bronte parsonage, which is this little cassette. Well, obviously now when we do the show, it's available as an app, isn't it?
Yeah.
That you can download wind sounds from Haworth.
I think we had some Bronte wind.
We did. We used to have little bags of Bronte wind on our trolley. Yeah. And, you know, a bit of Charlotte's underwear framed.
And then people could sign in their visitors' book.
We'd like to do a few snippets for you from our show, Withering Looks.
Withering Looks has been specially conceived to give you a dramatic and yet educational insight into the lives and works of the Bronte sisters.
But generally speaking, I think we have lots of ideas, then we write a scenario, and then that turns into scenes.
But we don't like writing anything that we, you know, if you get to a point where you just think, oh, this isn't working, and you just think, perhaps it's just not very funny. Let's not have a boring bit. Let's not have a bit where you think, oh, it's this bit.
But having said that, the other component of our shows is the audience. And as soon as you put something in front of an audience, things you thought were hilarious, like Tumbleweed, and something that's never occurred to you that's funny brings the house down. And you think, okay, so we need to pause here and let the audience in and let them laugh. And hadn't occurred to us.
Yeah, but also, oh, this is funny. Oh, we could develop this. You know, we could change this. So it's constantly moving.
Where's Anne? She's dead.
Do you want the wanting breakfast then?
Filth and blasphemy! They're calling Wuthering Heights filth and blasphemy!
Oh no, I think Wuthering Heights is a much better time.
No! What's the point?
It would degrade me to marry Heathcliff. David Niven has asked me to marry him.
You're back, and a gentleman.
But I betrayed you, and myself,
And I married David Niven. Forgive me, Heathcliff.
So obviously when you're writing, someone has to be sitting at a keyboard. Well, I say keyboard. We used to start off with pen and pencil.
Yeah.
And a notebook.
And then we had an amazing typewriter.
Oh, yeah.
Which deleted
It could remember 50 words. So,
We've really used the technology over
Yeah.
the years.
yes, this typewriter with a
And then
memory.
we had an Amstrad 9512 and it had its own little stand.
Yeah,
Oh, it was marvellous.
but where you had to format a floppy disk in
Yeah.
order to boot up your computer. But we had this amazing stand where you had your keyboard, you had your computer, the printer sat on top, and then there was a little thing for your coffee cup. And it wheeled round the room. Yeah. And honestly, it was the envy.
It was
the
the
envy
Yeah.
of everyone who set eyes upon it. It was a thing of wonder. And then we got Apple Macs, didn't we?
Yeah.
But someone's got to type and someone's got to sit.
Yeah, so
And then
somebody
you swap.
splurges and says, "Oh, we could do this." No, and then there's somebody doing
Typing.
it.
But if you're typing and you don't like that person's idea, you just don't write it down.
Write it down. Or if you're the next person to go and type while the other person's having, you go, "No, I'll just put that back in."
Didn't like what she wrote there. Yeah, so
But you just refine and refine and refine.
yeah.
So it's like you create this big picture, like a big canvas, and then you're colouring in. It feels like that a bit.
But probably the biggest part is editing out, you know.
Yeah,
So the whole
absolutely.
process of writing and then rehearsing. So you write a script, your director comes along and cuts it, then you rehearse it and you cut it.
Yeah.
Then you put it in front of an audience
And you cut it.
some
Or you
more.
develop it.
Or you develop an idea.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
editing is a massive part of the process, I would say.
Yeah.
But also, because we are writing for ourselves, we can be men, we can be women, we can be young, we can be old. We can be anything we want.
Life, Joyce, but this flock's a bit bright. Yes, if it had been me, I'd have just gone for it on the one wall. She bequeathed the lot to the people of Liverpool. Why did she do that, Joyce? Fed up a dusting, I expect.
Oh, Jemima Puddle Duck. What's that? You want to sit on your own eggs?
Flying Fernando, Titan of the Trapeze, was found stark naked, backflipping his way along the Strand, clutching a Garibaldi biscuit.
Where was he clutching it?
Yes. Where on earth is what?
And we can have any set we like. And the set becomes part of another character sometimes. We say, oh, wouldn't it be good if we could do this with the set and this, and it does this and it does this. And
occasionally we write so many characters. So we did a spoof of Little Women called Very Little Women. And there's a character in Very Little Women who's very boring. So we had a shop mannequin.
Yeah.
Playing
just
this
thought,
character, John
there's no
Brooke,
point
the character
making
of John Brooke. And then we had this whole joke that he was really hard work and never had anything to say, which was a way of getting more people into the show.
Strangers on a Train set. I felt like that started with you, Sue, saying you wanted to play a ticket inspector. Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Tickets.
Yes,
I mean, that's how it starts. A show, our entire show will start with, I just want to do this.
I wanted to be those ticket inspectors that you get in war films, where someone, you know, where people are escaping from Colditz and they forge their documents, and the guy comes along and goes, papers, and then does that.
So we built an entire show over the word paper.
So there's one moment in Strangers on a Train set where you're asked to see someone's ticket
Yeah.
and their rail card
Yeah, they
and
do
do
that.
all of that.
Yeah, yeah. We did this show when we started to move into film. We worked with a company called Forkbeard Fantasy, who were very, very generous with their time and their skill. And we wanted to go into a film so that then we could be on film and interact with ourselves on stage. So this was like a big new development. So we developed this show called B-Road Movie, and we created these film stars called Hilary and Robert.
You don't believe that cockamamie story of mummies coming to life, you, Robert? No. I've heard Brad Ketley's bound for Cairo. Not Brad Ketley, the notorious Egyptian gem smuggler, yes. Smuggler, yes. You silly little fool. The only thing that matters in this world is money, and lots of it. You should be grateful to me for finding you such an eligible millionaire as Franklin Dubonnet.
At 83, Daddy would never have agreed to me marrying a man of 83.
But your daddy's dead.
And then they would be on film, and then they'd come on stage.
And we had a whole... It was all set in Egypt. It was... yeah, it was a sort of road movie set in Egypt about the lost pearl of Nefertiti. Yeah. And then there was a great sequence, which was a chase, which was the black and white film stars having a chase on film. Then they'd come onto stage. There was a mummy involved.
Oh, there was a mummy.
Point, the mummy came on stage, which was our projectionist, this poor girl who was in charge of the projection. She had to do the projecting dressed as an Egyptian.
Mummy.
She wore glasses. So you go backstage, there would be this mummy with these glasses resting on this bandaged face, trying to work the projector.
And then the film would burn.
The film would melt. That because it was celluloid.
Melt,
it would melt. Yeah. Oh my life.
Oh, and then I would race off stage, talk to Lorraine, who's with her glasses and a mummy outfit, and she's got streams and streams of film spooling out of the projector, and I'm going, how long? And she's going, I don't know. So I go back on stage and then improvise with the audience for about 15 minutes. And in the end we had to send them out. We just had to re-spool the film, mend it. Oh. Anyway, now it's digital.
It's digital.
Yeah.
Film doesn't melt anymore.
Strangers on a Train set, digital.
Yeah.
It's so much easier. Forkbeards love their projectors.
They love their analogue projectors. They wouldn't really dream of doing anything digital. Yeah.
No, but we, it can't be doing it. Can't be doing the stress.
Here we have a normal brain. Here we have an abnormal brain. Notice the abnormalities of the frontal lobe. This man led a normal life, but this man led an abnormal life, full of violence and torment. So, to conclude, normal and abnormal. Please feel free, ladies and gentlemen, to inspect the brains at your leisure.
Titty's terribly tired, aren't you, Titty? That's right. You want to say goodbye to all the boys and girls? All right, then.
Goodbye.
Thank you, Teddy. Thank you, Auntie Joyce.
So how else has your work evolved over the years?
Well, there was a time where we did much larger scale shows. So we would play, you know, bigger theatres for week-long runs, take 2 days to put the set up, have a huge truck carrying around the set. And some of those shows we had other actors in. So we did a production of The Importance of Being Earnest, which I think had 9 actors, Very Little Women, there were 3 of us. Then we did a show, we did Desperate to be Doris, which had a community choir, 70 people at Oldham Coliseum on stage with us. It was quite something. And then we used people with other skills. So in Jane Bond.
Oh yeah, we did a show called Jane Bond, where I played Jane Bond, who's like this working mum, but trying to be a spy at the same time. And yeah, and we obviously need to do stunts because it's a Bond show. So we got this amazing stunt
artist, Martin from Liverpool.
He was phenomenal.
Who could flip, and he was a free runner, you know, so he could
just
run up a wall and somersault. Quite extraordinary, the things he could do.
Yeah.
And we would dress him up as Maggie.
Yeah,
in a blonde wig.
And then he would do these double back flips and stuff. I remember a woman coming, you know, after the show saying, "Why didn't she use those skills on all the shows?"
if you can do that, why don't you do it all the time?
Please don't keep knocking all... Oh! Oh, no! I've just been given some lovely lilies, and I'm just going to put them in water. Would you like a drink as well? You go into the bathroom then. Sweet little bag.
But that was very scary, having a stuntman in his show, because we were just terrified he'd hurt himself.
Yeah, and he said, "I'm not feeling very well." Oh no! So I've got a bit of a headache. Yeah, and then things like we did the Scandinavian noir
Inspector Norse.
Inspector Norse. And we wanted, you know, we did our research. Of course we did our research. We went to Sweden and everything's knitted. And we thought, oh, well, perhaps we should have a knitted set. Let's have the Northern Lights knitted in wool. And we met somebody who was an extreme knitter with these huge knitting needles. Extraordinary. And we created this huge backdrop of the Northern Lights. And then we created this set. And one of my characters was a sort of ABBA recluse, and she knitted, and she influenced her environment with her knitting, so her house was knitted. And then the audience, we invited the audience on stage to come and have a look because a lot of people were contributing stuff. We needed props. Obviously we had a knitted autopsy because it's a crime thriller, and people were sending hearts and livers and brains and lungs and things so that we could do the autopsy.
But so at the end of the show, you'd go up to put the set away and you'd see that someone had put little knitted mice all over it. It was so sweet.
It was very sweet.
Mice were sweet.
Yeah.
Got sent a lot of cats. Got sent quite a few things that we didn't know what they were, I think it's fair to say.
But that was delightful, having the audience, and the audience loved being on stage and seeing this knitted set and having a look at it and stuff. That was great.
Echo start, it's another day. Growing rumbles that seem to say, I have to eat, I can't put it off. Danish pastry and a cup of cough. Oh, what jumper should I put on? Oh, I forgot I've only got the one. Life is empty, the darkness comes. Comfort eating my 10 meatballs. But I don't care. I've got blonde hair. I disappear. I disappear into my wardrobe from
Detective Inspector Sandra Larson here. There's been a what? Murder or a tragic walking accident with the police. Watch out! Watch out, little hedgehog! There's a hedgehog! There's a hedgehog! There's a hedgehog! Check the vital organs. Seems to have slipped. Inspector Norse! Inspector Nurse!
And then more recently, you've been including BSL not just as a side thing on your shows, but like integrating it into the story a bit more, haven't you?
Yeah, that's right. We've become quite interested in integrating access. So we've been working with this amazing BSL interpreter, Emma Heap, who is a performer in her own right and has a magic act with her partner Jez.
She's funny. Yeah.
And she's naturally very funny. So you think, well, there's lots of comedy to be... Rather than her just being at the side of the stage in a spotlight, we could involve her in the comedy, and if there's a chase sequence, she might as well chase as well. Hello, are we back?
Yeah, keep rolling.
Are we good to
get?
get...
We're rolling.
Brad?
Action. Yeah, no, you're going to have to go again, Brenda, because you muddied the top. Yeah.
This began with another sign interpreter called Kyra Pollitt, who
does Glastonbury.
She does Blondie. She did Blondie at Glastonbury. She dressed up as Blondie. She was amazing.
She looks amazing.
But she came along and said, "Why, could I wear a costume a bit like yours? Can I dress up in
that was for
the
Jane
era
Bond, wasn't
of the
it?
show?"
She was really quite sort of
yeah,
Bond girl.
Yeah, she became a Bond girl at the side of the stage.
Yeah.
So she gave us the idea to integrate more.
Yeah, and she was really encouraging, actually. And then we met Emma, and she's just been fantastic. So we worked with her at the new show with the Chateau Ghoul.
We're here to welcome you to Chateau Ghoul. Here we're going to have a virtual
but lifelike
and visually exciting tour. Meet our special resident guests, most of them alive.
Ooh. Look at the Ouija board, or Ouija board as we call it in the business, from the French and the German. Oh, hello. Hello, girls. You gave me a bit of a shock, wasn't expecting to see you. Meet our identical twins. Though Maud's a bit taller.
No, we're the same height. There's a dip in the floor. There's definitely someone coming through from the other side.
Who is it?
Yes, who is it? Who is it? Who is...
We cater for the sophisticated taste, with a high ticket purchase.
Though we do hen nights.
Yeah, not really, no.
I know a really good stripper.
Paint stripper.
I've never noticed a trapdoor here before, Brian.
Oh, it's secret, you wouldn't have done.
You can't have been living down here all this time.
I haven't been living. I'm 100% dead.
Book early and you will receive a deluxe long weekend at the Chateau with complimentary champagne and flowers on arrival. Take me! We think she'll pull through.
She's in the morgue, Brenda.
Brian, everyone's dead. This is supposed to be a promo video. Who's going to want to stay here now? Subject to availability. Terms and conditions apply.
How has the focus of your work changed?
I think we've got older.
We've got older. I think when we started out, we were tub-thumping feminists.
Yeah.
We used to do Stamp on His Head, which was a version of Stand By Your Man by Dolly Parton.
And then I say, some people say that they find this song really quite aggressive. We really don't mean to be. We're just, just...
So it was very overt, and then I think we became just sillier.
Yeah.
Sillier. Yeah. But I think the feminist message is still there, and we did a show called The Picture of Doreen Gray, which was about, it was at the kind of time when older women were losing their jobs on the news or Strictly or whatever. So that was a show.
It's suddenly the older woman wasn't
valued, wasn't visible. So so that show's about the invisibility of older women.
But sometimes my skin feels like it needs something extra. So I turn to
Doreen's Image.
With its unique blend of retinol and carboxylic peptoids, Doreen's Image penetrates deep into the avascular epidermis, working hard to nourish and replenish collagen, leaving your skin feeling...
confused? Never mind all that. Just look at my skin. That's all you need to know.
Doreen's Image. Forever young.
Doreen. And we're kind of coming to terms with getting older.
Yeah.
Because when we started doing Withering Looks, we were younger than the Bronte sisters. And now we're very much older than the Bronte sisters. Yeah.
Yeah, we still love them.
We're Charlotte and Emily, and we're self-isolating.
To be honest, we've always been self-isolating up here in Haworth, so we're quite used to it.
And we are the Bronte sisters.
Well, two of them. I mean, Anne's here, but she's keeping 2 metres away. Anne, that's not 2 metres!
No, go back. Go back, Anne. No, further. No, the...
How has your work changed during COVID?
Well, completely. Because we couldn't go on tour. We got a tour booked. Couldn't go.
So we we started to watch lots of companies who were just recording their shows, their theatre shows, and then broadcasting those. And we just thought this doesn't really work because
it doesn't work for us.
Doesn't work
because
for us
we've got in that interaction with an audience.
But also it's just too theatrical and you feel like everyone's shouting at you. It's not made for that media. So we thought we would like to do something that had a live element and involved the audience in a live interactive section in amongst filmed sequences.
Yeah.
So we'd made a Zoom show of our Chateau Ghoul show, which has been great fun. Very up close and personal with our audience. We know what their sofas are like.
Yeah.
We know what books they've got on their shelves now. And it's very accessible for disabled people or people who used to come and see our shows, or may have relatives with dementia, they may be carers, they may no longer be able to go out. Well, they can access this material. So in a way, we feel like it's more accessible.
Yeah, it's like an introduction into the live show. And I think that's possibly what we're very interested in that it isn't just you just do a show, but there's this as well, this element in it. And so there's lots of different sort of threads suddenly in a show.
But also, it's we are getting on a bit now, and this huge touring circuit. I think we probably
when we used to tour when we were starting out. I mean, you look at those tour schedules and you think, you what?
We did Aberdeen to Southampton overnight on one occasion.
Madness.
Yeah. So I think it's making our touring circuit more manageable and including a digital offer. And also our work with heritage organisations. That's for the last 5 years we've been doing bespoke projects with places like the Elizabeth Gaskell House and the Bronte Parsonage, National Trust. So I think a mixture of that work.
Yeah.
I'd like to welcome you on our hysterical walking tour.
Today we're going to present to you the life of Elizabeth Raffle.
I've had my hands up a sheep's nostrils, mashing its brains for supper. I'm thinking of doing it with lime and coriander. What do you
Few of you will have heard of Miss Charlotte Bronte. And why should you? She's from Yorkshire. Charlotte has 2 sisters who also wrote. I'm here to meet Mrs. Enriqueta Rylands, widow of the late Sir John Rylands. So you want a statue inside?
Inside.
A small one on a plinth.
On a what?
A plinth.
Plinth. Like Plinth Albert, yeah. No, sorry, I thought this was the University of Manchester.
Who are you?
Scott of the Antarctic.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes Mary Stokes. We now go on to the Town Hall and Penhursts.
That was an exact reenactment. I've never seen Ophelia performed with a limp before. Yeah, I'll definitely offer you a position.
Do you think you would do it all again?
Well, the thing is, I can't think of doing anything else. So, because I haven't got much of a brain.
I met this woman in the garden centre yesterday who said, I've just heard your voice. I couldn't recognise you with the mask, but your lip service, and you've made me laugh for years, and it's such a gift. And I just want to say thank you for all the pleasure that you've brought. And it was just incredibly moving. You think, here I am buying runner beans. So I find that very moving, because I think laughter is something that unites people because it's coming from a place of recognition. And so that feels like a very positive experience, making people laugh. But some of the things we did were great. We had 4 children between us and carried on touring. I mean, that was a nightmare. That was really
Once
difficult.
you'd got the childcare sorted, the touring was easy.
Yeah.
We used to be in that point when we first started where you said, I don't think I'm in the mood for writing. Well, if you've got children, you just write. Right, come on, we've got an hour, come on.
Focuses the mind.
Yeah.
Mr. Darcy soon drew the attention of the room. Grey waistcoat. No, cream. Or blue.
No, cream. My lake here at Pemberley, my country estate here in Derbyshire, is very well stocked. As are you.
Mr. Darcy.
Well, I know what he makes of me. He thinks me barely tolerable.
Oh, Lizzie.
Oh, look, will you stop kicking me? Why have you got your shoes on in bed?
Oh, they're new. I like them.
You've had people come up to you and say, like, that that's the first time they've smiled in...
Yeah, oh, people have been very, lovely.
There's a group in Liverpool that come and see us, and they come all together because they had a friend who loved us, and she introduced them all to our work, and they would come as a crowd, and she died, sadly. So they come in memory of her, which is, also extremely moving.
Yeah.
And you realise that, because we've been going 36 years now, that you've built up these huge, loyal audience.
Yeah, and they talk in the, in the audience, they talk about, oh, do you remember this? And some people say, no, this is the first show I've seen. And they go, well, you've missed this and this and this. I go, oh, are you going to do it again? Well, which we do, actually. We used to have shows in repertoire. So we would, have like 3 shows that we could offer at any one go. Madness!
Yeah. Like, how do you balance being friends and business partners at the same time?
Well, we were friends. We've been friends from way back when. So that is a strength and a communication and a shorthand.
But it's interesting, this word partner, because sometimes, people would say to me, how's your partner? And I would think, do you mean Mark or do you mean Maggie? And I think Maggie has the same with Malcolm. And most often they mean me.
Yeah.
They don't mean. No. Yeah. Yeah, and there is that whole kind of Morecambe and Wise thing of double act, double bed that we used to in the early days go on tour, and people would just give us a double bed. They think, oh, it's like Morecambe and Wise. They're a double act, sleep in the same bed.
Yeah,
comedy. Have to say, actually, could we have our own separate beds, please?
You've done so much together, and as you say, like 4 kids between you, you just sort of had to balance what each other have capacity to do.
Yeah, I think we've pushed it too far on occasion, actually. I think we look back over the childcare years and think, actually, should we have taken a bit more time out? I think our children will say that they never saw us. But they've turned out all right. They've turned out all right.
We used to carry babies on, I was breastfeeding in the dressing room at the interval of a show. I remember that. So, yeah.
And then I read a book about Georgian actors where the actors were on one side of the dressing room and their wet nurses were on the other and the babies were in the dressing room. So, it was a biography of Mrs. Jordan, who was an actress and mistress of George IV, I think. But yeah, very interesting to see how the children were an integral part of those dressing rooms. So then we felt better about it after that.
But our touring schedule changed because then we would try and get home in order to see the assembly the next day.
I did a terrible thing. I confess to this. So the importance of being earnest, and my son was in school assembly. So this was at Watford Palace, everyone. He was in a school assembly in Manchester. The last train to Manchester that stopped in Watford was literally would have coincided with the curtain call. And in Act 3, I was the Reverend Chasuble.
Because
we were swapping
loads of different
parts.
characters.
So the understudy said, OK, you sidle off, Chasuble, sidle off into the wings. We'll swap costumes. I'll go on and I'll do the curtain call. and no one will know. Well, that was fine, except I had false teeth as the Reverend Chasuble, and this woman ripped my false teeth out, shoved them in her own mouth, sidled back on as the Reverend did the curtain call, and then the assistant wardrobe mistress drove me as fast as, and there were speed bumps all the way, and we were going like this all the way to the station. I got the train and saw my little boys' assembly, and then went back to Watford Palace. So yeah.
Madness.
She said, I've always wanted to do this, the wardrobe mistress, drive a fast car to the station.
Do you have any advice for young people starting out?
Go steady. It's all possible.
I think things have changed massively, though, from when we started out. I really do. And, you know, I think these days people make work and share it, and then they move on to the next project. They don't tour that show for 10 years like we do.
No.
So I think there's a very different focus.
Yeah, it's completely different. But there's lots of advice out there. There's lots of help, support.
And we're associate artists at Salford University. So
this is like a new development for us, because we're working with Salford and the students, so we can now put on a show, you know, put an early show, try out, and play it to a student audience, and then talk to them. I do remember this student saying, "How did you do that? That's so silly. How do you even do that?"
But it's very nice having an audience of younger people, and you know, because people pigeonhole you and say, "Oh yeah, you're for middle-aged people," and we think, no, nonsense to that.
Yeah,
rubbish.
I mean, it's part, you know, because we use a lot of digital work as well with it, but also we're just two women and we're being funny, and I think that is still, you know, radical. You know, somewhere like Salford University, obviously, they are geared up for encouraging people to create work and go out there.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more emphasis on
theatre there,
creating your own work and being your own person. I think that the focus of that is really important, because if you think someone's just going to cast you and you're going to have a career straight out of drama school, that happens to so few people, and it's very, very important to write, to act, to have many strings to your bow.
If that's what you want to do, you know. I mean, not everybody does.
With the whole running your own company, writing it, making the decisions, also doing all the producing side, like the finances and everything, and also then getting to perform, doing the whole gamut, what do you like the best and what do you hate the most?
I hate the VAT, which I'm doing at the moment, everyone. I hate that, and I did not go.
She did not get an English and drama degree
to do the VAT.
Do you find you like the rehearsal or the performance better then?
I like the rehearsal because you're
playing. It's like play.
Yeah, it's like play.
But no, I think the most exciting thing is the audience response, and it's like an animal that's alive.
You can hear it. So you're standing backstage and you're listening to the audience, and you're gauging what kind of audience it is.
And you can tell before you start.
You can.
You
can.
can.
Oh, they're a
absolutely.
bit quiet.
If they don't talk to each other, they're going to smile at you rather than laugh.
It's going to take a while to warm them up.
Yeah. And there's certain nights of the week that are better than others. Thursday night, not great.
Not great.
Saturday night, not great.
No.
Because the tickets are more expensive and they're more judgmental.
People are a bit cross.
They're a bit cross because they've paid so much for their tickets. They're like, come on, impress me.
And I remember when we used to play London a lot, and people were tired.
Tired from getting to the theatre, yeah.
You'd have to really,
massage
them in. But the whole creative process is just a delight. It's thrilling. It's thrilling. And then you get it in front of an audience and hearing that audience laugh and then playing the laughs and... Oh, it's wonderful. It's wonderful.
What do you think of my bonnet? Nice, isn't it? Nice and bright.
The Bronte sisters wouldn't have worn bright colours.
I think they would have done, given us the chance. Oh, God.
Hi, my name is Sandy Thomas, and I'd like to thank the ladies of LipService for inspiring me as an artist for decades. It was 1980-something when my husband Glenn and I attended the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. It's the first one we've ever been to, and you're inundated by choices. And we had just been to Haworth. We had visited the Bronte parsonage, and we couldn't imagine anyone being able to make a comedy out of such grim, circumspect lives. And so we chose to go to Withering Looks, and I have never laughed so much in my life. And when I got back to Minnesota, I kept thinking about that show and how much fun it was, and I wrote Maggie and Sue and asked them if they'd consider allowing me to produce a version of their show for Minnesota audiences. They said yes, and that was in 1992. I produced the first iteration in Minnesota and then brought it back the following year to tour a little bit around the state of Minnesota. Had such a fun time doing it. Audiences love that show. It's funny, it's whimsical, it's historical, it's tongue-in-cheek sometimes and silly, and line for line, it's the funniest script I've ever read. And it's reliable too. The way that those ladies crafted that show, it's almost actor-proof. Anyway, I got to stay in touch with the ladies of LipService, and I came to see their, they brought 2 plays to Santa Fe, New Mexico. Went to see them there. I saw Withering Looks again. They brought it back. They played the Assembly Rooms in Edinburgh. I saw that iteration. We saw Horror for Wimps. I think that was in Greenwich in 2005. We caught Inspector Norse, Strangers on a Train set. I know it sounds like I was stalking them. Maybe I was. Totally worth it. I can honestly say producing a version of their magnificent comedy really furthered my career and development as an artist. I wouldn't be the same person that I am today had I not met them and got to know them. And Maggie not being here leaves a huge hole in so many people's lives. And but it was like just such a gift that I got to know her at all, and their families, and I love them all dearly. And thanks for letting me be a part of this.
Catherine Earnshaw lived with her father and her brother Hindley at Wuthering Heights. One day, her father brought home a small, dark-skinned gypsy lad called Heathcliff to bring up as his own. Cathy and Heathcliff became bosom pals. But as for Hindley, get lost, you little so-and-so, I'll give you what for.
Oh, my leg's fallen off.
Despite Hindley's horrid treatment of Heathcliff and the fact he now only had one leg, Heathcliff and Cathy became bosom pals and were often seen out on the moors together. It's me and Cathy, come home now. Then one day, good old Mr. Earnshaw died. Oh, no.
All right, I'll tidy him away. We won't need him.
And Hindley took over at Wuthering Heights.
Get lost, you little upstart! I'll give you what for! Oh, my other leg's gone. Oh.
Then one day, Cathy sprains her ankle.
Oh, no! Is it a sprain? Or is it a break?
It's a sprain, get off. And is taken to the house of rich and handsome Edgar Linton.
Oh, hello.
And when she grows up, she decides to marry him, even though she really loves Heathcliff. Oh, Heathcliff, I really love you. Heathcliff goes off in a strop.
I'm fed up with this. You're too tall.
He comes back, a rich and handsome gentleman. Have this one, it's got legs.
Oh, right, yeah. He's put on quite a bit of weight, hasn't he? I can turn them back on for you again. Look.
Right, you've ruined the ending.
Keighley Market, $4.99, vanilla scented. I'll do it again for you.
You ruined the mood. That was supposed to be the ending. You can kiss goodbye to Sundance now.
Oh, do you think so?
bet they've not seen these.
I would just like to say a big thank you to LipService, Maggie and Sue, who were fantastic, for letting us join their Desperate to be Doris gang, and it was an honour to be in it. We had such fun, fantastic dresses, lots of laughter and lots of singing, dancing, and that's going to be with me for the rest of my life. And I just want to say a big thank you to you both, and I just think it was an amazing show, Desperate to be Doris. And after the show, we started with Harrogate Theatre Group, a few members then. I want to say a big thank you again for the show and all you've done for us. Love you both and love you all.
I can see love. I can see love. I can see love. What you've got, it really makes me hot. Maybe I really should take a cold shower. Maybe I really should take a cold shower. Maybe I really should take a cold shower. Still I'm burning up. Maybe I need a cold